Great recap. Well, I want to say that this gives me particular pleasure to introduce the speaker today, Jack Friedman, the CEO of Providence Health Plans. My connection with Jack goes back to his days as the first healthcare reporter for the new Portland Business Journal in 1984. Now, Jack's educational background was anthropology, which he studied at UC Berkeley, and then earned a PhD at Rutgers. But he moved to Portland to be closer to Susan, now his wife, and he was interviewed by the new publisher, Tom Higgins, who recognized that what Jack lacked in journalism experience, he more than made up for in curiosity, and he hired him on the spot. Those of us in healthcare who were the object of his penetrating questions knew we had to be on our toes as he quickly became expert in healthcare. So much so that he was hired by, kind of indirectly, by Bob O'Brien to work as a benefit and pension consultant at Frank B. Hall. Jack also understands the work of the Alliance as he ran the Greater Portland Business Group on Health for 2 years. Now, I'm taking credit for bringing Jack into the Providence fold. He was recruited to the organization in 1988 to run Providence's PPO line of business, which he diversified the product offerings beyond the hospital and medical network into a work comp product as well as behavioral health program. His portfolio has continued to grow with Providence, including his promotion to CEO of Providence Health Plans in 2000, which now serves 375,000 members in commercial groups, individual coverage, and Medicare and Medicaid. Provider-sponsored health plans are coming into vogue again with the prospect of ACOs. Jack has been in the trenches, making a place for the health plan in the Providence system, which historically has been focused on large acute care hospitals. However, the measures of how far the health plans have come under Jack's leadership can be found in 2 examples. One, Jack has been given responsibility for ACO development for the Providence system across 5 states, as well as leading efforts around clinical transformation and payment reform. A health plan guy. 2, Providence Health Plan shared first place honors on Portland Business Journal's 2010 list of most admired healthcare companies in Oregon. Providence's 2 flagship hospitals were also in the top 10, but below the health plan. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah.
So this program actually has attracted more attendees than any in the Alliance history, and I think it's largely due to the subject matter. However, after you hear from Jack, you'll see why Nancy Ellison, who operates both in Oregon and Washington, attributed the draw to Jack's status as closest thing as we get to rock stars we have in healthcare. So, no pressure, Jack. So please join me in welcoming Jack Friedman to the podium.
Boy, I hope I don't blow this for you, Mary. Well, thank you for those very kind words. I think most of you know that Mary was the founder of our health plan in about 1984, was it? And she was our CEO for the first 10 years. And this is a real honor for me to be here this morning. And Mary has been my mentor for, well, Mary's been over about 22 years. And she's taught me a lot about how to think about our industry and how to treat people. And so I owe you a lot, Mary. And you are lucky to have her in this role, I can tell you that. Well, I am just really humbled to be here this morning. And what I wanted to try to do is outline a process that we went through in the Oregon market to develop a value-based insurance design, otherwise known as VBID, and to tell you a little bit about how we went about it, what the early indications are, and to put it into the context of a healthcare market that has been very well managed on utilization, but not producing the kind of premium value that I think employers need to see. So let me start with just a little bit of a review about our marketplace, because Portland is different than Seattle, and I think we were able to achieve some things down there because of the size and scale of our market. There are a couple million people in our service area, about half the size of Seattle. We have 4 major dominant health systems that control the vast majority of the medical spend. 5 major plans that control probably 80 to 90% of the lives. We're largely a not-for-profit marketplace, for better or for worse. That doesn't mean that everybody behaves like a not-for-profit, but it does mean that there is, I think, a sense that whatever resources we are making have to be plowed back into our local community, both on the plan side and the provider side. Most of the primary care in our market is employed. Very few groups left that are not in large employed groups. Most of them employed by hospital systems now. But we have very few large employers. Most of our large employers have been acquired by employers in the Midwest. So we have mostly small ones. And finally, if you look at where most of the lives are, the covered lives, they're actually in large health systems and public sector employers, both of which are under enormous pressure on their healthcare costs. These are not typically demographics that health plans are all that excited to underwrite, I can tell you that. If we keep going, if you just think about the rest of our market, on the government side, almost all Medicare and Medicaid is enrolled in some kind of an HMO, managed care product. We're about 65% penetrated in Portland on Medicare Advantage, one of the most mature markets, so to speak. All of our commercial business, other than Kaiser, is on a PPO, point-of-service platform. Not a lot of HMOs. We had that back in the day, and not unlike this market, HMO commercial products lost share and lost their price point, and PPOs and self-funding came back into the market in a very big way. I would say that the Portland market is generally well managed, but we have very high provider rates, and I'll show you some of those numbers in a minute. I think our state gets great reviews for end-of-life care. Our days per thousand in Oregon are the lowest in the country, but we have very high provider rates on the commercial side. And I would say that outside of Portland, the rest of the Oregon market is a challenge. Most of those markets are dominated by single hospitals, so their price points have gotten pretty high. We have some examples of good utilization still going on in Eugene, but the rest of the market, particularly east of the Cascades, very expensive, really expensive health care. So this is just a little bit of background. Now, in this environment, then, make sure I'm on the right slide there. Okay. In this kind of environment, in about 3 years ago, middle of 2008, the Portland business community, led by CEOs, who were beginning to hear the noise from their CFOs and their head of HR about healthcare cost trends, commissioned a leadership task force. This came by the Oregon Business Council, which I would say is the premier business community, large employers, Intel-led, state of Oregon, the big banks, Portland General Electric, people that had been in the community for a long time and were beginning to get very concerned about the trend line in the Oregon market. 8 major hospitals and health systems agreed to come into this group, along with some large major medical groups, and 12 local and national health plans agreed to participate in some effort to right-size the medical spend and get trend a little more managed. And the most important thing, I think, is the State Director of Health and Human Services, DHS, Department of Health Services, was asked to participate and have a leadership role. And this got the health plan's attention because, not unlike what's going on in your state, there is a growing movement to aggregate purchasing into a single pool through the Oregon Health Authority. And none of the plans, none of the health systems wanted to be too far afield from understanding that dynamic. So this group was commissioned and started doing its work. And you say, well, what was the imperative on this work? And I would say that we began to see that Oregon premiums, even in our most well-managed Portland market, were beginning to rise faster than the rate of change in the rest of the country. And I think our sense was that the aggregation of the provider community was beginning to overpower the ability for health plans to drive reasonable unit price increases. And that's an important point. And I know some of my Providence colleagues are here, and thank you guys for coming, by the way. Really appreciate that. I think that it's fair to say in the Oregon market that as medical groups have aggregated into large negotiating groups, and hospitals have, we've not seen that translate to lower costs on the part of the marketplace. And it was this aggregation that I think was beginning to concern the business community, and this is why they asked them to come into the process and be part of the solution and not the problem, right? And finally, I think the scale of the Oregon market makes this collaborative possible. And I would just add that the legacy of the Oregon Health Plan, and I think you know our legacy down there. 20 years ago, we went through a very public process to begin to rationalize the medical spend in Medicaid. And for 20 years, most of us have been participating in the Oregon Health Plan, which is a list of prioritized health services, very explicit, very transparent, starting with the stuff at the top that has the most value and eliminating things at the bottom that don't have as much population health value. That process has been in place for a long time, and I think that culture of being brutally honest about the relative value of health services turned out to be really important in this, and it was helpful along the way. So let me talk a little bit. Let me share a few numbers, and this sets the stage for, I think, why we kept why this group came to fore. Let me kind of move over here. If you look at okay, oh no, it's just okay. So if you look at the per member per month, if we just look at, well, I can do that. How about that? If you look at the PMPMs for this is our commercial market, our commercial base from 2000 through 2010. And all we're doing here is looking statewide. No, this is actually Portland, our best managed market. This is looking at the per member per month cost trends in our health plan over a 10-year period. And what it shows you is that despite the rhetoric on health plan administrative costs, our health plan administrative costs, like a lot of them, are pretty flat. Turns out we're pretty flat. Primary care beginning to inch up more as a reflection of the relative value shifts to primary care, less so on units of service. And outpatient drugs, due to the increasing generic rate, has also flattened out pretty nicely. You kind of say, well, where's the money and where's the trend? Well, the money and the trend is in specialty care and facility care. And if we go a little further on this, you can see that on the facility side, this is less a function of utilization and more a function of sheer unit price increases. So this, for example, takes a look at the per member per month cost in our health plan, commercial, same database from 01 through 2010 for acute care only, med-surg day, a medical surgical day. And if you look at the numbers here, you can see that we've done a pretty good job in our plan of managing those days down. But the cost per day has gone from $2,300 to nearly $6,000 an acute care day. This is what we pay. This is not what's charged. This is what we pay. It's in the premium. These numbers are starting to get out more, and I think the employer community, led by CEOs in Portland, were concerned, and for good reason. This trend is not sustainable. It's not reasonable. And it is the single largest driver of healthcare cost inflation in our market today by a margin. And I say that often to my hospital friends.